6, hallo?
11.
Bist du sicher wegen dem?
Yo je iets niet, joh.
Sitaki ubenza, anika sirikie.
Two outlaws on the lam, taking the back roads through America.
You can't drink enough coffee for this show.
And now it's time for Monday Madness with the Moped Outlaws, Greg and Mark.
Hello, Greg.
What the fuck do you have going on in the background?
Well, I was looking at research that I had done this week for our podcast. An hour-long video that I really wanted to watch before we did it, but didn't get to because I didn't discover it till this morning.
I hear meditation music.
Yeah. Let me turn that off.
You wanted to watch an hour-long meditation music video?
No. That's my Alexa in the background just playing music in my house.
Ooh, robotics. That reminds me of Ray Bradbury. A soft rain will fall. Do you know that short story?
No.
It's brilliant. There's a automated home going through the morning routine of waking up the family, preparing breakfast and everything. And there's a soft rain falling because it's post-nuclear Holocaust. So all these automated processes are just going through the day in a very calm, quiet manner. And
meanwhile, the family's not actually alive anymore.
Right. And I think it ends with like a weather report. A soft rain will fall.
Wow. That's very apocalyptic.
Yeah, well, fuck. We got a lot going on this week. At least I do. A lot going on this week.
Well, I mean, there's current events, which we had no idea was going to happen when we talked about what we're going to talk about today.
Right.
And then there's more for you. What else is going on for you?
Well, I had a movie shoot on Tuesday, which
the beard looks great, by the way.
Wonderful. I know I haven't had the energy to shave it off. And last night I had an asthma attack, which I haven't had in since like my early teens or like 11, 12 or something. Yeah. And
did you have an inhaler or what you needed for that?
No, because I haven't had one, in decades.
Wow. So that must have been frightening.
It's fucking out of the blue. It was a little like, holy shit. Yeah, there was probably a thought in there of, I wonder if this is a medical call. But instead,
you calmed down and it went away? How did it work?
Yeah, I went down to the bathroom and coughed and wheezed and then went into the living room and watched TikTok videos for about 40 minutes and slowly
brought yourself back into life.
Yeah.
Are you going to go get like an inhaler now or something in case that happens?
No, because, I think there's an element of your Christmas day, I think it's a one-off. I don't expect it to happen again.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
So you don't know it was an asthma attack per se?
Well, it was an asthma attack.
Okay.
The bronchial passageway was constricted and it was hard to breathe.
And it passed quickly.
Well, 40 minutes.
Wow, that's brutal.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It frightens me. I don't want to lose you, man.
Well, one day. All right, I'm going to share this with you. So this is that kind of news. Okay. I also learned this morning that Tim Talbot passed away in his sleep Saturday.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, his ex-wife emailed me this morning.
Wow.
So all that, and then the invasion of Ukraine, which is streaming live on social media. It's a full week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tim was fucking hilarious.
He was. A little much.
Well, yeah, of course.
He was a brother. He was definitely a brother in my life. And I appreciated his...
Well, they aren't married anymore, right?
Right. They were, I don't know if it was actually finalized, but it was definitely
in process.
Well in process, very well into it. Yes. And yeah.
And he obviously wasn't expecting it.
No, like we were in communication regularly. Like he was a brother, and I just Taubes. Yeah. I just probably had spoken with him a day or two before that.
Jeez.
And then I texted him and called him and hadn't heard back. And that, in my mind, I was like, oh, that's unusual, but it happens. And then I got the email from Yunni this morning.
And was there any clarity about why?
No. So I hope to talk with her tomorrow and kind of get some more information.
You just never know how long you got.
Right. That's it, man.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of a trip.
Well, I guess that's what happens when we get to our age, right? This is the game. Like,
right.
Who's going to drop first, me or Greg? Stay tuned to Moped Outlaws.
We could be in a fiery crash together like a bat out of hell.
That'd be great. Like we're going to make a movie and
that's it.
And it's 30 years from now.
And Russia invades the United States and we get hit with a missile and it's just instantly over.
Vaporized.
Yeah, as we're crossing the Golden Gate Bridge.
Well, they say going in your sleep is one of the best you can hope for.
Absolutely.
Vaporized is probably a close second.
Yeah.
You hardly have time to notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because we're on the bridge, we don't hear the sirens going off throughout the city.
Your attention to detail on this is a little unnerving.
And because we stream music, there's no longer the radio.
Yeah, we just don't even know. There's no air raid sirens.
Yeah, it's just, we're going across the bridge and then, oh, what's up? Boom, over.
Right. It actually would take longer than that.
On the bridge.
It would take longer than that. We would see an explosion, and then
no. It hits the bridge. The missile hits right where we are.
Oh, well, I'm so glad we're being so specific about this.
Yeah, we're vaporized. I don't want to a lot of people from Hiroshima weren't vaporized.
Yeah, you had to be really close to the epicenter to be lucky enough to be vaporized.
Right. So I'd like 0.0 to be my location. What is that called? Zero.
Ground zero.
Ground zero. Thank you.
Yeah.
How many inches were between you and the missile? 0.
What I've heard is that the latest in nuclear bomb technology is that you don't actually hit anything with it. It actually is designed to explode above the ground. That's a much more effective means of transmitting the shockwave and all the other things. So there's no ground zero.
Attention to detail.
It would probably be like right over the tip of Alcatraz to get the whole urban area.
Nice.
Or it'd probably be like there'd probably be like a whole bunch of them all like mini warheads all falling. But then again, this is California, so they might want to use like neutron bombs, so they just kind of wipe us out and not take out all the infrastructure, so that China and Russia could enjoy the Golden Gate Bridge. They all want to come here and walk on the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, it is a well-recognized international
symbol of peace.
No, it's not a symbol of peace. Bomb it. But it is like, all the big tentpole movies, the reason why a lot of them are in San Francisco, or that's a part of it, is because that bridge just brings instantaneous.
Well, it's also because ILM's built that model a bunch of times, so it's easy.
Yeah. Yeah, but it just,
Well, we've already got the Golden Gate Bridge on file. We could just use that one.
Do you have an apocalyptic Golden Gate Bridge? Oh, yeah. We'll just throw a couple of covers on it.
Yeah, there's that one from Planet of the Apes where it's all covered with vines and stuff after no one's used it.
That was a good one. That was a really good one.
Yeah.
Oh, That just in my gut, I felt a horrible segue trying to rise up.
Don't do that.
Joe Rogan. Oh, now we have to talk about something else. Otherwise, it is a segue.
All right. Well, there's another celebration of life tomorrow for a guy named Dirk Johnson.
Oh, really? Another one?
Yeah.
Is it headed by the same individual?
Bobby G's. Yeah. So tomorrow's the big day.
That guy really had a lot of love for Happy Boy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
so that's two of our contemporaries who are being honored by their loved
didn't he
ones.
already have one for Dirk? Why, like a
No, it's tomorrow.
Oh, I thought it already happened.
It's tomorrow.
Okay.
Dirk was kind of a tall guy.
What?
Dirk was tall.
Yes, he was.
And he was also very, talented on the guitar and humorous in his own way, kind of like a big lug. Like, I find it like we have another friend, Mike Healy, who's also that tall and lanky. And, they were never in the same place at the same time that I remember. But can you imagine those two guys on guitar? Like, we missed an opportunity there. Like it's like the world's tallest guitar duo.
Wouldn't that be funny to have a band where everyone's like over 6'6"?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. We'd have to call them the Spiders from Mars.
They must be giants.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So let's see. No one else that I know has died recently. Well, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I woke up with a really heavy heart today. I was like, I wasn't feeling that funny. It's hard when blatant aggression is part of the worldview. We got this thing going on in Europe.
Yeah.
And I was driving home from the studio last night. I was hearing the news that that Kiev was going down and Kiev, or however they pronounce it. And I would imagine by the time of us talking right now, and definitely by the time it posts, Kiev is now Russian territory. Kiev.
Is that the capital?
Capital city.
It's right before this, I saw a stream of Georgia. Is that the country that I think it was 2008 that
Yep.
Russia invaded? Yeah. So they were streaming from there, and the guy who was on it was saying, how they're all protesting and rallying in this huge area. And he's like, we know what this is about, and we're, against it. We're really here for the Ukrainians. And it's so interesting to me to watch a war unfold live.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting phenomenon to me.
Yeah. Well, it's somewhat like that for Desert Storm in our lifetime, and then the Iraq invasion. Not with the way we have phones. Everybody has a broadcast station in their hand now.
Right.
So.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, it was still CNN with those for me. And here, this is like you're saying, it's being broadcast by multiple people and different, some are in Ukraine. I saw last night there was a person on their balcony in the Capitol, and you hear all the sirens going off. And
so that was on TikTok Live, right?
Yeah.
Did you notice that was a 1 minute loop?
No, it wasn't that one. I did come across that one.
Okay. So you saw another one.
Yeah. There was about 3 that I came across. If you do hashtag Ukraine or search for Ukraine, there's a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did see that loop. That was kind of funny. Oh, it's daylight still.
Yeah.
People are interesting.
Any way they can get more likes.
Or just create a splash, their little splash. Like, because that person, who knows where that person is? They could have just grabbed a 10-second piece of video and put it on a loop and live stream. And
yeah, one of the interesting things I found out yesterday is that the president of Ukraine is a comedian.
No, really?
Yeah.
There's a good segue. Speaking of comedians,
Yeah, Vladimir Zelensky. I think he started out as a comedian.
oh,
He's certainly not laughing now.
now he's an ex-president.
He's an ex already?
I don't know. That's come Monday.
Oh, actor president, it
right.
says.
Come Monday, you'll be holding me tight, and Ukraine will be a part of Russia.
Too soon?
No. Well, if you're Ukrainian, it might be.
Yeah, it's always too soon to be.
I shared the news about Tim with my daughter this morning. She was like shocked, and she goes, "Are you all right?" And I go, "Yeah."
I had an asthma attack last night, but I'm fine.
I shared with her earlier when we went to work out. But yeah, I was like, one day you're going to hear, "Hey, Greg's dead." She goes, "Yeah, hopefully in 30 years." I was like, "All right, but." And I FaceTimed with my mom Wednesday, and she looked really old to me.
Wow.
And so it brought that to the surface of when she's going to pass. She's going to turn 86, I think, in June. Yeah.
Wow. Well, may she find her path easeful and full of love.
Amen.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you guys, after all of that, it's Monday, the end of February. February's Black History Month.
Yep.
And Greg and I were like talking the other day, and we were like, neither of us really understood very well the Black history of comedians in this country.
Well, not to the degree I wanted. Like there's just always more, right? Like there's both watched that documentary Phat Tuesdays.
Right, which is a 3-part documentary on, is it Netflix?
No, on Amazon.
Amazon? Yeah. That was fascinating. I learned so much about it. In fact, I wrote down all the names of the comedians that were in that show that I've never heard of before. Damn. Thinking, well, how am I going to say all these names? I'm just have to read a list, right? And so I'm prepared to give you guys some real history here of Black comedians' names. So I'll do 5, we'll talk, and then I'll do 5 more. So Chris Spencer, Jay Phillips, Flame Monroe, Ajay Sanders, Kim Whitley, Nick Cannon, and Tiffany Haddish. Like, we'll just stop right there.
Yeah, because those two, I think most people know Nick and Tiffany. They're pretty well known. All right, Mark is passing away right before my eyes. He used the mute button. That was nice. You just choked on Nick and Tiff, huh?
I think I choked on the remnants of my shake because it's super thick. My green shake. But yeah, so like when I thought like what Black comedians can I just remember off the top of my head? And I was like, well, Flip Wilson, Devil Baby Do It, Geraldine, right? Yeah. He was great. And why? Well, we had him on national TV every week.
Yeah.
And I remember listening, one of the first comedians I ever listened to a record of was Bill Cosby. Yep.
There's a fabulous documentary out by, I just forgot the gentleman's name. He's a comedian here in the Bay Area. And he did a documentary, We Got to Talk About Bill or something. Let's talk about Bill.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what streaming platform is that on? Do you know?
I don't. I think it's Showtime. It's Showtime.
Got it. Well, and then, of course, Red Fox from Sanford and Son.
Yeah.
And,
just to come back to Bill for a second, part of what, gosh darn it, I wish I could remember the gentleman's name. It's like W something Bell Kamal. Anyway, he said one of the things that was difficult to tackle is Bill's career. Like when he was in the spy TV show. What was that? The Odd Couple. No, what was it? The three. What was it? Mod Squad.
No, he wasn't in Mod Squad.
No, what was the one he was in?
It was in the 60s.
Right.
And I don't know it, so I'm going to look it up.
Okay, so he had a white stunt double that they put blackface on and blackened the arms and everything. And Bill was like, no, if you don't hire a black stunt double, then I'm not doing this. And he forced, I think it was NBC, they hired and the whole stunt community, especially the people of color in that career, said that was a game changer. Before that, we had no work. And when Bill did that move, now the gates were wide open.
Wow.
Yeah. So part of what this gentleman, and if you've found his name anyway.
Well, the show is called I Spy.
Okay. There you go. I Spy.
But I don't know. Let's talk about Bill.
Yeah.
That's the name?
I think so. Or we must talk about Bill or something like that.
We need to talk about Bill on Showtime.
Yeah. So what's the gentleman's name who created it?
I'm looking.
If you put director, he'll come up.
Okay.
W. Kamal.
All right. Well, Google in its infinite wisdom is making life difficult.
All right. F Google.
Here we go. Cast. Comic director W. Kamal Bell.
There you go. W. Kamal Bell.
That's him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very articulate man. And if you have a chance to listen to he's been on a few podcasts and shows with, to promote this. And it's.
Well, I think it's a worthy effort because, of course, Bill Cosby did some really, really, really messed up things.
Oh, yeah.
Like, clearly deserves everything he got as far as prison time and, the besmirchment of his reputation. But one of the things I like about you and me is we're always sort of willing to look beyond just the zeitgeist of the moment and appreciate people for their full spectrum of human endeavor. And like you said, Bill helped the Stuntmen's Union get black stuntmen in, and and
Hitler was a very nice dog owner.
Right. And then Bill Cosby was, the Cosby Show was a monumental black television show in the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah, but then they do get into, like, he was a gynecologist. And he had an office anywhere, but his office was in the basement of the house or something like that. Like, there's some chaos. Yeah, it's really, if you don't mind the pun, it's not so black and white.
Wow.
Let's go back to Phat Tuesdays because that's such a good vibe. I think
I was just trying to remember, like, off the top of my head. So I was Flip Wilson, Bill Cosby.
Well, Richard Pryor,
Red
Fox,
right?
Dick Gregory.
Right. That was as far as my memory could go.
There was
and then
also
I had to start looking stuff up.
Mooney.
Yeah, Paul Mooney, right?
Paul Mooney.
And Leslie Jones, Tiffany Haddish, whom we already said. But this morning when I was doing some more research, I found out, like, who's the queen of black comedy? And it's Moms
Mabley. She's one of my favorites. Oh, my God.
Right?
She was brilliant. Yes.
So why is it important in Black History Month for us to look at comedians? Because comedians are overlooked in their social value. Like, it's so important to laugh.
Well, also, I think there's the element of like the fool's place in a court was to bring the truth to light, where everyone else may be afraid to lose their head if they said, "Hey, King, you don't got any clothes on."
Right.
The fool
That was
could
the fool's
say,
job.
right. And, may lose his or her head anyway. And then that's interesting in the tarot, the fool
Is the first card.
Yeah. And even the Beatles' Fool on the Hill, I think speaks of a person of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
What really struck me in the documentary Phat Tuesdays, which was brilliant, was how hard everybody works in this industry, and how hard work isn't a guarantee. Like, there were some people who didn't have their name on the wall and, didn't go on to get a show or a movie or anything. And they just fucking worked hard, and it just never clicked over.
Yeah. And for those of you who haven't seen the documentary, one of the things that's true about the Comedy Store is after you reach a certain level of, prominence in your career, then the Comedy Store will put your name on the wall outside, on the outside of the store. And one of the things that happens in the documentary is a bunch of the comics who didn't have their name on the wall, it was sort of discovered that they really should have their name on the wall. And so there's this moment where they make that happen, and there's this unveiling for about half a dozen or 8 or 9 comics. And, I kind of wonder if Pauly Shore's interview was why that happened. Because, they didn't really interview, Pauly Shore's mom was the owner of the club, and they didn't really interview her here because she's dead and she wouldn't have had much to say. But
would have been a macabre interview.
But he is interviewed in it. And, it makes sense that maybe, clear.
Well, they said in the documentary, because his brother's the owner, Pauly's brother.
Yeah.
And that the brother made that happen.
Yeah.
And I forget the gentleman's name who was the main host of Phat Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Mo.
Torrey. Joe Torrey.
Joe Torrey. No, Joe was the older brother, wasn't he?
Geez.
Or was Mo anyway.
Hey, Mo.
The younger, he says that, what I really loved was the symbiotic relationship that Mimi and the comedy club had with the black comics. And, the club was able to stay open because of the revenue that these Phat Tuesdays brought. And also the club was giving prominent presence in the game for comics to be seen and by producers and casting directors. And so it really was a symbiotic relationship. And I think the gentleman who's announcing the wall at the very end, he
Guy Torrey.
So that was the younger brother. He acknowledges that symbiotic relationship. Am I saying the right word, symbiotic, where there's both are gaining from?
Yeah, that's about right. They're mutually dependent. Symbiosis is mutually dependent.
Yeah.
And that's true because they find out during the course of this film, you find out that there was a point where the Tuesday night comedy night was paying the bills for the Comedy Store, even when the Saturday night, headliners were supposedly making the money. They weren't actually paying the bills. And it was, the LA Black community coming out in droves every week on Tuesday night and filling that space up that kept the lights on and kept the place open. So, and in many ways, like, I love white comedians and there's been some great ones, but man, when I think about comedy in my youth, it's like, it's fucking Richard Pryor. It's Eddie Murphy.
Red Fox.
Yeah,
well, there was George Carlin.
Yeah, he was funny in an intellectual way, but like Cosby, Richard Pryor, like those guys made an impact on my life. And I think they're funny, but they're way above most most people in terms of the things they say. Like there's a whole moment where Pryor talks about having been on LSD, and he does this thing and he goes, "Look, I can catch my hand." And that just cracks me up every time I think about it. Right.
That's funny because for me, it's Bill Cosby's. The very first stand-up that really caught me as a kid was Bill Cosby's Moses bit. And you could still say to me, "How long can you tread water?" And I laugh. I think that's fucking brilliant. To picture this guy making this fucking huge boat, the neighbors coming by. What the fuck are you doing, you crazy madman? Oh yeah, how long can you tread water? Like just the perfect clapback.
Yep. We owe so much to these comics, and I was wondering to myself, well, why isn't Sammy Davis Jr. on this list? Because he was Rat Pack, which is pretty big achievement, really, but he wasn't really that funny. I don't remember Sammy Davis even being funny. At some point, maybe he was.
I think the Rat Pack had stand-up as part of their show. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I think Sammy Davis was the butt of their jokes for being Black, for being Jewish. And, now I believe that he was well respected. Like I've heard stories of Sinatra again, like, them saying, "Look, this guy can't do XYZ," and Sinatra going, "Well, he's part of the show. And if you want our show,
you got to take him with it."
Yeah. And he's in our green room and he's, he doesn't come through a different door. And so I hope that Sammy was a part of that because he knew behind the scenes he was equal.
Yeah. He deserved to be there for sure.
Yeah. I've been listening to his Mr. Bojangles live. I forget where it was recorded. It's on one of my playlists on Spotify, and it's just so good, man. It's just
he had his own style for sure.
Yeah. He was brilliant in Sweet Charity. I don't know if you ever saw that movie with Shirley MacLaine. Heartbreaking. It's a heartbreaking story. I just want to say, because this keeps coming up in me, this morning, Robin and I were talking, my daughter, and talking about Black History Month. And she goes, "Yeah, why is there 1 month we celebrate Black history and then the other months is all about whites?"
Well, that's a common refrain. In fact, it's not only is it just 1 month, it's the shortest month of all of the months.
Yeah. And, you and I have talked about how the school that you're a part of to help Whitey realize just how deep colonialism and racism is embedded in the train of thought. And I saw that quote, I think I shared it with you, of Martin Luther King, and I'm paraphrasing, but in essence, he says, white people are always dismissive of the amount of learning they have to truly be in a place of equality.
Yeah. Well, the school you're talking about is called the Remember Institute, and rememberinstitute.com. And the course that is making this impact is called Heal Thyself, which is a course in anti-racism for people who identify as racially as white. And it's very challenging. If you think you know, or you think you aren't racist, you should take this course, because that's where I started. Like, I grew up in Berkeley. I had this whole story about how, together cool. I was, and how non-racist I was. And then, I really got my education thanks to this teacher. And, there's this thing about having BIPOC people spend labor to educate us, white people, about our blind spots and our white fragility and our white privilege and all of that stuff, it's really an awful thing, because they're the traumatized group. And so in the Remember Institute Heal Thyself course, there's actually a crew of teachers, all of whom are BIPOC, who have taken on this work on our behalf, right? And yeah, we pay for it. But at the same time, it's because they know that, until we heal this rift in our country, there's not, and in the world, there's not going to be the kind of possibility for humanity. And all of us white people walking around feeling like we're woke and like we know what we're doing, we still have very little clue. And, I've been immersed in this work for a couple of years now. And just the other day, I was having a conversation with my sister where I found another pocket of my own bias. And thankfully, my sister's intelligent and wise, and I was able to talk to her about it and kind of break it down. The thing about the Heal Thyself course is it doesn't just deal with racism. It also deals with ableism, right? And sexism, patriarchal sexism. So, yeah, rememberinstitute.com. Starts June.
All right. There's openings.
Yeah.
Sign up, Whitey.
Sign up, Whitey.
Which in itself might be a mistake. It's
for us to say it that way.
Yeah.
It's our N-word.
Well, it's more the dismissive surface nature of the statement.
Yeah, it is. It is like, oh, I can get this intense energy off me and make it funny.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there were some other great Black comedians in this documentary. Lunel, Robin Harris, Joe, as we said, Joe Torre and Guy Torre.
Yeah. Their relationship with each other was super interesting, man.
Yeah. A bunch of the documentary hinges around that and alludes to it. And Joe admits eventually that he was just had too much of a chip on his shoulder to act. He was offered the club because Guy Torre was getting, he's getting gigs. He was doing movies, he's doing TV, and he was touring, and he'd gotten some really good, and he couldn't be there every Tuesday night, and he gave it to his brother Joe, but Joe, for some reason, didn't have quite the magic that Guy had.
No,
and
he didn't show up. I think that was.
He showed up 45 minutes late.
Yeah.
Consistently. Yeah.
Yeah. So that to me was that element of subverting yourself,
self-sabotage. Amen. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was also interesting to hear the women talk about what they were up against with, being Black and being a woman, and told, okay, you want 5 minutes on stage? I want 5 minutes in the parking lot.
Right. That was horrible to hear that story. And then even the women who ran the door had those stories. Yeah.
Now they seemed a little more cavalier about it, and being at the door, you're there in the public eye. I don't see how someone could get so intense. Whereas if you're backstage and it's just you and this one other person, it was also, I know Nick Cannon and know who he is and have seen him do stuff for a long time. And to see how he started at such a young age. I think he was 14 when he first started hitting the clubs. And then to see how he grew. He really is an entrepreneur, Wild and Out is fucking well known. And I just watched I think it's his first movie he produced, a feature that was really his movie called She Ball. And it was okay.
I don't know anything about this.
Oh, really? Nick Cannon. Yeah, and again, there is the element, with the two brothers, there is the element of opportunity, but also being proactive, showing up on time, doing your work, doing your fucking work. And
and there were a couple of white people who were actually appeared, and
Bob Saget.
Bob Saget, right?
That was brilliant. That was a nice little tribute to him.
Right. And the recognition that he was just really blue. Here's this guy who plays such a straight guy on TV. And then when he gets in Phat Tuesdays, he's they were he won him over because he was so blatantly blue.
Yeah.
But what I found out about myself in watching that documentary was how little I knew about the level of talent that is available in Black comedy. And, you know, Cedric the Entertainer, like I remember him.
God, he's so good. Yeah.
You know, there's just so many great performers.
Yeah.
Steve Harvey, who's now, I've always thought of as a game show host. It didn't really occur to me.
Yeah.
I've forgotten that he was a stand-up comedian.
And JB Smoot.
Right? Same guy. Yes.
And the Wayne brothers. And
right. What I loved about the interview with Dave Chappelle was he said, look, I wouldn't be doing this interview if it wasn't for, you know, Phat Tuesdays. Like,
yeah. Well, and he said, because I don't do interviews, but because this is about Phat Tuesday, I'm going to let go of that, you know, fence that I'm doing this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I think was so also, to me, it's like the God element. It's that piece that you can't plan, just where things come together perfectly. And part of it is stepping up and doing the fucking work because it's landed on your lap. Okay, here's you've asked for this. Let's do it.
Right.
But it's also that element of you can't make it happen. It is.
Well, and what's doing the work? Like as a comedian, what's the work? Right.
Fucking getting on that stage every single moment of your life.
It's more than that, though, right? It's preparing the jokes.
Well, some people prepare on stage. Like that's primarily when I was doing stand-up. Most of my prep was on the stage, and I'd have some ideas, and then you work it out on stage. That's pretty common. Some people do write, you know, hours and hours, and then bring it onto the stage to refine that writing. There's also, I appreciated, again, just the universal comedic element for this career of you do a joke and it, right. Well, you do a joke and it kills one night, and then you do it another night and there's fucking crickets, and you know.
Why?
So,
what's the mystery of that?
Right. Yeah, right. And I think there was that one comic who was talking about you got to feel the audience.
You got to. It's not a linear thing. It's modular.
Yeah. Who was it who? Oh, I also appreciated how Chris Rock was talking about how he killed. And then who was it? It wasn't Cedric the Entertainer. Who came out after him and took it to even another height? He's like, the fuck is this?
Yeah, it was Guy Torrey.
Was it Guy Torrey?
Yeah.
Called Chris Rock?
Yeah.
No. It was the guy who came out. Oh, it was
Bernie Mac.
Bernie Mac. Yeah, who came out who was like, I have a fucking anaconda here, you know, like
yeah.
He just like was like and he had worked it out with the DJ. The DJ hit.
Yeah.
And he just blew the fight. And what was brilliant is there's Chris Rock, who just had a fucking phenomenal night. Like he's the reigning champion. And then Bernie Mac comes out and takes it like, oh, if that's what I'm up against, then I got to go harder. And that's what I think about doing the work. Like you're at the edge of the airplane and you're either going to jump or you're going to say no and go back to the seat and land on three wheels.
Yeah.
And it's the people who jump. That's you jump.
Yeah. And having that courage to step off into the unknown, that's part of what we love about comedy, because we're out there with you.
Yeah.
And we're confronting both our own fears and our own angst and our own, hidden dark sides. Yeah. And then we can poke fun at it. And we all get to feel a little more human.
Yeah. I think one of the things that was brought up in this thing about Bill Cosby was comparing him to Richard Pryor, how Richard wasn't a saint, but Richard acknowledged his humanity and didn't play off as a saint, where Bill throughout most of his career was like, I'm the shining beacon of right living.
Yeah. Yeah, he with his sweaters and his suit, and
there's
he had
the
a
famous Eddie
very
Murphy.
wholesome American image, right?
Yeah, there's the famous Eddie Murphy stand-up bit, where Bill calls him and says, "You got to quit swear words," and he spoke to Richard Pryor and said, "Well, you getting paid? Yeah, then fuck him."
Oh, yeah, and that's that one scene with Chevy Chase and Richard Pryor where it's the job interview, and they're doing that thing back and forth with the
I love
the word
that.
association.
That is so
Dead honky.
good. Dead honky. That is, and Richard wrote that. He co-wrote that. Like that's why Saturday Night Live was so good, because it was so cutting edge. Like they were willing to do that. That is a great bit.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and take a couple weeks off, and we're going to give you a raise.
Yeah.
And Chevy was perfect. That was just a great bit.
Yeah, they definitely.
And then Richard Pryor with Gene
Wilder.
Yeah,
what was the movie they were in?
Well, they did a few. The one I remember is the crazy one. Oh, the Runaway Train was the first one. That was so good. I remember seeing that as a kid and just going, "Oh my God, that was brilliant." And then they did I forget the other one where they were anyway.
Yeah.
I think they did 3 altogether.
What a struggle they all face too, right? Like,
you know what else I found very interesting is to hear more than one comic talk about how one person of color was allowed in a decade.
Yeah.
And when Phat Tuesdays happened, now you could have more than one.
Yeah.
And to hear more than one person say that, like, oh, that was a real thing that was really felt.
Right. It was America, just the entertainment industry was like, we're going to exploit one black man at a time. And they're going to be our token comedian or token,
right?
You
get the shiny star for
don't
this.
Don't bitch if we don't pay you too much, or don't, right? Like, and this opens up the question of African American artistic contributions in America overall, like jazz and blues and painting and cinematography, and there's just so many. There aren't very many famous cinematographers that are African American, and I guess there's an issue there, like a racial issue there. Like, I don't even know what the cinematographers union is like, and all of that. I wouldn't even know like who to call, right, to get
right. Well, I think like Spike is very conscious of who he's hiring to. And there are people who, I was thinking about that, how Spike was in his own movies and then he kind of stepped out of that. And I was wondering if part of it was, it just took so much energy to keep the vibe and essence of what he wanted as his career, that he didn't have the energy to also act. It just was better for him to focus on his production company and what's going on in the production.
Yeah, that whole series he did on America last fall was amazing.
Yeah, it was.
We talked about that.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, what I did when I was watching this miniseries, this documentary, was I wrote down on 3x5 cards, individual cards, the names of all of these comedians.
Wow.
And my intention was at the time was to be like, by the time we got here, I would have filled them out with some data about them. But I'm going to go back. and I'm going to fill these out, and I'm going to spend some time looking into these people and their art and what they brought to the table, and just experience their gift.
And I had there was also, I was reflecting on this when I was doing stand-up. I had one evening that I got to go do some minutes at a Black establishment.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was the only white person there. And I had a joke at the time that was about slavery. I forget exactly what the joke was.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, the person I was talking with who had invited me to do it said, you did well. That bit about slavery, that was like, I don't know about that. I was like, oh, really? Like that? And he's all, yeah, you bring that into the present. And so I was reflecting how the N-word and slavery is still so triggering in the blood and bones of humans. And I think kind of coming back to the school that you said is starting in June. Again, I apologize.
RememberInstitute.com.
Thank you.
TheRememberInstitute.com.
Right. That it is still necessary as long as that is triggering. Like, yeah, that's it. I think sorry, go ahead.
What's coming up for me is the recognition of what the courage that's required to be a comedian, right? Like, we don't normally think of them so much as brave, courageous people necessarily. But the reality is getting up there and poking fun at people's humanity is very treacherous territory.
Yeah. Well, also to be willing to bomb. Like, I love that one comedian who said, comedy is the one career where it has no respect. Everyone thinks they can do it. You don't walk into a hospital and go up to the surgery table, go, oh, yeah, let me do that. I can do this, or go into an airplane. Hey, I got the plane tonight. But everyone kind of has this, oh, yeah, I can do that.
Right. They think that their dad jokes at the holiday Christmas party are enough and that would get them over. Right. I'm one of those people.
I think you found out from personal experience that that's not quite real.
I'm pretty funny. It's true.
But you and I did that night, on
yeah, and I once every 10 years I do stand up whether I need to or not.
Once every 10 years I go in and do an open heart surgery whether I need to or not.
Yeah, in fact,
so far I haven't cured anyone, but
I haven't killed anyone either.
Because they dragged me out before I could really get into it.
Yeah, unfortunately, the comedy clubs actually gave me the mic, so that's on them, really.
You gotta accept responsibility for letting someone bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
It came up on my phone. The phone sometimes kicks out, like, here's a photo from your past.
Oh, yeah.
And the photo of me on stage from that night we went out to the Hate and did that open mic. That was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, and you were brilliant.
That's very good.
I was mediocre.
I think I was mediocre. But it was fun. Yet Was on 4th Street is doing comedy.
I saw that. I want to go back.
Well, it's not an open mic.
Oh, that's right. It's professional. They probably should have an open mic on Mondays or whatever, right? I mean, you would think.
I don't know.
I want to take my girlfriend to see some comedy. That'd be a great spot.
Well, Tig Notaro is coming to the Bay Area.
Oh, not to the Yet Wah. I was going to be like, poor Tig. She's playing the Yet Wah. Oh, my God. Like, just the fact that there's a Chinese restaurant that does stand-up is like a brilliant, weird thing.
Yes, it is. It's also sort of, what do you say?
Sad, tragic.
No. Yeah. What's, anyway, I recommend taking your girlfriend to Tig Notaro because she is very funny And it's very positive, uplifting humor. It's not acerbic. It's got that edge, but it's just, she is one of the best. I also saw Chris Rock is playing at the Paramount.
Wow.
Yeah, I almost thought of just buying a ticket, though right now I think I need to watch my budget.
Me too.
Ding diddle. Speaking of that, we're now accepting advertising. Moped Outlaws.
We are not a nonprofit corporation, but you're welcome to send donations.
Yeah.
They're not tax deductible, but we will put them to good use.
Yeah, like a Chris Rock ticket.
There you go.
$50 for the nosebleed seats. But at the Paramount, even the nosebleeds aren't so bad.
Yeah. What I noticed is that a lot of comedians are good dramatic actors too.
Oh, yeah.
And that it takes a level of intelligence, sensitivity, and, awareness to do good comedy. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. And it's also then what you do with your body.
It's also observational. And I think good acting is a lot of observation and reacting. And comedy is reacting for sure.
Yeah. And I'm reminded of this documentary again, where the people were capping on the audience. They were cutting the audience and stuff like that. And that I'm like, wow, like that's low hanging fruit in a way.
Well, it all is work. I think there are comedians who they make a career from it, crowd work. Mm-hmm. And it's my hat's off to anyone who has a career in the entertainment industry in any manner, because none of it's easy.
None of it's easy. They make it look easy, though.
That's why they're good at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what a rich treasure that we have in the history of Black comedy in America. And again, just as we reflect on the cultural benefits that we receive from the creativity of the African diaspora, the BIPOC peoples of the world, really. Again and again, they're the most rich, the most sophisticated, intelligent, and inspiring in many ways types of things to experience. And I'm so grateful I went on this deep dive, and now I've got the bug. I want to learn more and more about each of these comedians. And I think that's going to be it for today. What do you think, Greg?
Recording stopped.